Good evening and welcome to another edition of Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette, and I'm coming to you live via SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio from beautiful Cape May County, New Jersey, which is not so beautiful today. It's actually been toggling between rain, sleet, and ice all day. So actually, Cape May is not all that beautiful today. But anyway, it is a beautiful place to live. And welcome to the chat, Dwight, Ed, Mike Fitzpatrick, who is our guest today. Welcome. And Frederick Smith. Hello, Frankie. Hi. So I'm excited to have Mike Fitzpatrick on the show today, who, by the way, is a regular. This is the first of his regular appearances on the show. This is, I think, your third time, Mike, right?
I think in total between this and XM now, I think we're up to 6 or 7.
Oh yes, with XM, you're probably right. And Mike Fitzpatrick is a cybersecurity expert, and he's also founder and CEO of NCX Group Security. And he's going to talk to us today about nonprofit cybersecurity. Why pay attention? So, very important topic. Carol Hupfeld, hello. Rob Jennings, hi. Doug German, Abuya, please, if I messed up your name, please do forgive me. Russ, hi. And for all of you all out there in SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Land, I'm just giving a shout out to all the people here in Facey Land who are appearing in the stream. So excited to talk to Mike about this topic today, which was his idea. It was not the fabulous host idea. And actually I thought really good topic and something to talk about. I would think anybody who runs a nonprofit or volunteers for a nonprofit would be interested in this topic because it's a very important one. So I'm excited to talk to him about that in a little bit. Hello, Michael. Welcome to the Facey chat. What else do we have to talk about? The stock market seemed to level out a little bit today. Now I'm just speaking off the cuff, not from my notes. I'm already nervous. I was listening to the business news on the way home, and it seemed like it kind of flattened out and at least didn't close down today. So that was a good thing. And yesterday, after that steep dip that it had last week, which was more than a dip, it was more like a thud. Last week, it did get back up yesterday, 350 points, which was good. It's volatile right now. It's going back and forth. Yesterday, I didn't get the close today, but yesterday it moved 900 points in both directions over a matter of 25 minutes, which is ridiculous. Like, who knows what to do? Chris Gaines, Lou, Michael Kent, hello. Kevin. Yeah. So it was like crazy. Also, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Bitcoin went back up like ridiculous today. Now it's down about 40% over, I don't know, the past month or so, I believe. Past 30 days, it's down about 40%. I did not look today. I only heard as part of the business report that it had a huge uptick today. And it's just kind of funny because I feel like none of the experts know what to do with cryptocurrency. But the blockchain technology is here to stay. And my guess is that's probably what we'll talk to Mike about on the next show, or we may just talk about it a little bit today. And blockchain technology is the technology that supports cryptocurrency, to put it like really, really simple. Hey, Shelly. Hey, hello. Hello, everyone. Okay, what else do I have to talk about? Steve Wynn, casino mogul Steve Wynn resigned as a CEO. That's so weird. As a CEO and chairman of his own company, right? Of Wynn Resorts. because of all the negative publicity against him. And, you know, apparently he's had a lot of, what do you call it, sexual harassment cases filed against him, or accusations and stuff like that. I don't know what these reporters are doing. And I'm not, you know, blaming the reporters, but I'm just like, or what these people are doing. Like, if the accusations are true, like, are CEOs legitimately just like running around sexually harassing women? I have to say, I personally have been sexually harassed most recently, and beyond that, most recently like a month ago, but never at work. I think my bosses were probably afraid enough of me that, that they would never even try it. I don't know, but it's I don't know. As a woman, I just find that like insane that women are going through this at work from their bosses. It's creepy. I don't know how much money I would have to get paid to not quit a job where my boss was sexually harassing me, or more. There's gonna, you know, I don't know, there's gonna be a lawsuit or something. The whole thing is just ridiculous. It's unbelievable. Ron Edwards, Glenn Davis, hello. The one and only Ron Edwards of Ron Edwards Experience, whose show, by the way, is right here on SHR Media on Fridays at 4 p.m. So you definitely need to check that out. If you enjoy the Ron Edwards Notebook, you would definitely enjoy the Ron Edwards Experience. So you need to do that. The House of Representatives, Congress, the House of Representatives passed a short-term spending bill, right? Because the government will be unfunded as of Thursday if they didn't. So the House passed the bill for the government to be funded through March 23rd. Great, fantastic. However, so the bill's going to the Senate. There'll be some amendments, of course, but Nancy Pelosi has been on the floor. At least she had been on the floor when I on my way home for about 5 hours, and she wants the same assurance from Paul Ryan, because of course it goes back to the House, from Paul Ryan, that there'll be a DACA vote. I mean, we've talked about DACA enough, but I'm over these legislators taking a stand for people who are here illegally. And I don't mean to sound unsympathetic, but come on. That's just like, what are you doing? So she wants Paul Ryan to say basically the same thing that Mitch McConnell said for the Senate, which is, you know, we're definitely going to take a vote. We'll absolutely promise to take a vote. And Paul Ryan's like, yeah, we'll take a vote if I have a bill that President Trump will sign. These people, I can't. Listen, 2018, grab your favorite conservative legislator that's up and make sure that they get in and get these other folks out. Seriously. We can't do this much longer. It's ridiculous. Yes, Chris Gaines, the key word is illegal. In my mind, that's the key word as well. I mean, I don't understand. Well, you're breaking up families. No, that was the risk you took when you came here illegally. Like, I feel like, and Doug is right, and it's a new voting base on both sides. Like, Republicans aren't slick, and that's my own party. They're trying to be slick. They think if they, you know, let these DACA people stay here, that they'll get more voters, that they'll somehow flip over to the Republican side. Probably not. And Joyce, hello and welcome. Joyce in the chat says that the DACA recipients should not be able to vote, and they shouldn't. I am vehemently opposed to a pathway to citizenship. That's crazy. It's one thing to say, okay, you can stay here, but it's a whole nother ball game to give them citizenship and give them rights. And Shelley Kennedy is right. Their parents are the ones who put their kids in jeopardy. Exactly. And they knew that when they were entering the U.S. Exactly right. And that's what I don't get. Why is the finger pointed at us? It's like somebody breaks into your house with their kid, and when the kid has to give back whatever toys they stole, it's the parents' fault for not letting them keep it. Like, no, it's not. Not the way any of this works. Just saying, not in the real world. I don't get it. Anywho, Tony, welcome to the chat. And I went a minute over. I'm supposed to go to break. When we get back, we will have my guest today, Mike Fitzpatrick, cybersecurity expert and founder and CEO of NCX Group Security. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. We'll be back in a minute.
What if Mrs. Clinton had become president? Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, I shudder to think of how dismal our lives would be with a Mrs. Clinton administration. For starters, God-given rights that are recognized in the United States Constitution and Bill of Rights would be under an assault far greater than what occurred during the Obama regime. The deep state dwellers would be literally drowning out our exceptional nation way of life under a sea of regulations, some of which could be connected to a United Nations-inspired eradication of our national sovereignty. Robert Mueller, John Podesta, James Comey, and many others would be enjoying the prospect of totally getting away with the abuses of power they have been wielding, and there would be no effort whatsoever to drain the swamp. The cabal of leftist collaborators came within an inch of unleashing a level of misery that rivals fallen nations like Argentina and Venezuela. My fellow Americans, give thanks to God and arise to stand for our future and that of our children and children's children. God bless you. God bless America, and may America bless God. I'm Ron Edwards.
Ron Edwards, the new voice of America.
Sponsored by the Tri-County Liberty Coalition.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I am your one and only business diva, Melanie Collette. And my guest today is Mike Fitzpatrick. He's a cybersecurity expert and founder and CEO of NCX Group Security. He's going to talk to us today about nonprofit cybersecurity and why you should be paying attention to this. I'm going to let you do your own quick bio, Mike. Welcome.
Hey, Melanie, how are you? It's good to be with you again.
Thank you so much for being here.
I'm fine.
Go ahead. I said thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're very welcome. My pleasure, and I look forward to our conversations because they're so much fun.
Oh, thank you so much. Likewise, my friend.
So, okay, a little bit of bio. For the last 15 years, myself and my company, we've been working with companies both nationally and internationally to mitigate the risks associated with cybersecurity. So it has been fun and exciting and interesting, and that kind of leads us to the topic today with cybersecurity and nonprofits. Through a conversation with a mutual friend that we have, Mr. Lonnie Poindexter, the subject of cybersecurity and nonprofits has come up a few times. And as I start to look into this, it is becoming quite concerning because it's not even a conversation that is being had within the nonprofit space. It's not being held at seminars, webinars, college courses. It's not even something being discussed in the boardroom. Why we should care is a couple of different reasons. I think we all give to different nonprofits, whether that's a church, whether that's the Boys and Girls Club, whether that's Boy Scouts, whether that's your alma mater and maybe your alumni foundation. So we all give and we all donate to these entities. You would want and you would hope that the data that they have related to your credit cards, you and your person, your family, would be kept safe and sound. And that may not be the case.
And that is super frightening. I mean, it didn't occur to me until you and I chatted earlier today. But any place that you use your credit card is, of course, subjected to that. I was doing a little research earlier today, and they do the same thing to nonprofits as they do to other places, to us personally. Email scams and stealing data. And what better place than a nonprofit than people who are donating money, who people have disposable income?
Well, exactly. I mean, it's high net worth individuals that are usually the big fish, as they say, with nonprofits. And myself being the CEO of a nonprofit, that's part of what prompted this as well, is looking at some of the software tools that are out there, and really being responsible for that donor list. Because at the end of the day, that's the one thing that a nonprofit has that's really of value, and that's the donor list. If the donor list is compromised, if it's hacked, then that mission that nonprofit has is done and over with. We know and we've talked about this before, on the small business side, or on the business side of the world, small and mid-sized businesses in 2017, over 53%, I think it is now, were breached somehow, some way, whether that's ransomware, whether that's phishing, whether that is an insider threat, whatever the case is, they were breached. Of that 53%, 66% are out of business within 6 months. We know those to be facts.
Indeed.
So with nonprofits, you take a look at the fact that they're really not, this isn't a conversation point. They're not even having the basic conversation around protecting data. They may very well just be having that conversation, or the assumption that because we've outsourced our data to one of these third-party companies to run our campaigns, they're responsible for the security. That's not the case either. Just because you've outsourced it there, more than likely than not, that company that you've outsourced it to takes no liability for any lost data, any security breaches, any downtime, anything. They're just providing you a platform at the end of the day. So we need to think through this a little bit more. These nonprofits need to think through it a little bit more. These churches need to think through this a little bit more, because the damage to their brand, to their reputation, to their mission, more importantly, because we're talking about organizations that affect change in this country and within society and do great work, most of them. They could all be gone in the event of a cyber breach.
Absolutely true. And I was reading one article that talked about how this one nonprofit was held hostage. Their list was held hostage for, I think it was $43,000. So there's that. I mean, sometimes the goal is not to necessarily get a hold of the donor list or of the financial information. Sometimes the goal is just to get a quick hit and get out, such as holding a list for ransom.
Well, that's a great example. It's really interesting. I saw a study the other day, and it was related to phishing, and how phishing, the two easiest targets for phishing types of attacks, basically social engineering through email, that the two industries most easily manipulated, one is the insurance companies, believe it or not, and number two is nonprofits.
Indeed.
They'll respond to anything. They'll click on anything.
And see, that's the scary part. And nonprofits, just to be clear, I mean, that includes not just charities and places like that, but nonprofit hospitals, access to your medical information. Schools are nonprofits. I mean, they're government entities, but believe it or not, they're kind of the worst. Some of them. So
private schools are nonprofits. And you're right about the hospitals. Under Obamacare, all hospitals could not stay for-profit hospitals. They had to become nonprofits.
Exactly. So you're talking about all that access to all your information. I'm laughing about some of the comments in the chat. One of the Keith Little says social engineering is the most common way people get in. Absolutely, for sure. Kevin Stuckey said, why I'm more concerned about why the government is on the on the internet. Why is anything secret or having to do with the national security susceptible to being hacked? Oh, wait, Kevin's under the impression that it's the government's like job to stay out of that stuff and kind of let private sector do their thing. Like, oh, and Shelley Kennedy answered him, and she's absolutely right that the government created the internet. And by the way, a level in a branch of our armed forces created the dark web. Thanks, government. And then just left it there when they were done.
It is an interesting world that we live in, and I was talking with somebody today, and I'm trying to really understand why nonprofits are not more aggressive with this and really not having a conversation about it. And one guy that I respect a lot, who's been in the nonprofit side of the world for a long, long time, and he says, well, there's just some lines that hackers won't cross and they won't touch nonprofits. And I said, are you kidding? Are you kidding me? It's always about money. At the end of the day, it's all about what I can sell that data for. And the hacker doesn't care if it's a nonprofit or GM for that matter. They don't care.
I agree. I mean, if some lowlife will steal the change off of the counter at McDonald's that's supposed to go to sick kids, you think somebody's beyond lifting confidential information from a nonprofit? I don't think so.
Well, I mean, in my church, right? In my church, everything's gone electronic as far as managing tithing each month. So the church has outsourced that to a third party, and me being the cyber guy, I'm going, okay, where's the SOC 2 Type 2 audit? Is there an SSAE 16? Where's the documentation that tells me that their systems are secure? Well, there isn't any.
Oh, they must love you.
Oh, they hate me. My son's Catholic school, it just absolutely hates me too, because they've outsourced the financial aspects of that as well. And I asked the same questions. Well, where's this? Where's this? Where's this? Let me see the reports. There isn't any.
Of course not. And no one's concerned until it happens.
Well, I mean, just here's a simple example, right? We know that the cost of an average data security breach in the U.S. is now $7 million. You've heard me say that before. The number that drives that is a cost per exposed record. So that number is $214 per exposed record, and that makes up three components. Discovery costs for somebody like myself, for NCX Group to come in at $600 an hour to do the forensics to determine what happened, what was compromised, what was touched, where did they go. The second part of that 214 is notification costs, letting those affected, because 48 states have laws on this, they have to go through and notify all affected parties that they were breached. And then the third component of that is lost revenues, damage to reputation. Sounds just absolutely devastating to nonprofits. So if we do some simple math here, let's say that nonprofit has 10,000 records times $214, that's $2.14 million. That's what the potential liability exposure is.
So, I mean, that could potentially shut down any nonprofit, I would think.
Well, but it gets a little worse from there. So you've got 10,000 records. So a lot of states require credit monitoring, that you supply credit monitoring to those affected. The notification is not a get out of jail free kind of thing. So let's say 10,000 records times $10 per person per exposed record. So that's the price for the basic LifeLock package. That's another $2.4 million over 24 months, which is customary.
Holy smokes.
And the final kicker in this, Melanie, is the government has to get their pound of flesh, right?
Of course.
The government has to get their pound of flesh with fines. So the FTC is now fining companies for data security breaches. The fine is $2,500 per exposed record.
Wow.
So that 10,000 times 2,500, that's 25 million. In total, that's $29.5 million. Who's going to survive this?
Right. I agree with you. And there's no carve out for the nonprofit, sector from a financial perspective.
No, the only carve out really from a cybersecurity and even a notification requirement that I know of is here in California, that not our local governments are excluded from notification because of the amount of burden that would create for the government employees.
Wow. Wouldn't want them to work too hard.
No, whereas business has to deal with it all the time.
Right. Of course. And they just have to deal.
Right. Exactly.
What do you attribute, since there's so much at stake, to what do you attribute kind of the laissez-faire kind of attitude of nonprofits toward this issue? Do you think it's intimidated by the possible cost of protection, so they figure they can do without, or?
I think it's some of that. I think that it's, they spend, what is it? I think it's 3.2% of what they bring in on IT services and that kind of thing. So I think it's partly that. I think the fact that there hasn't been a big nonprofit that's been hit, that's made the news. The other piece of it, I think comes down to the fact it's kind of what we hear with small businesses. What do I have that anybody would want? They don't have the fundamental understanding that their donor list is what they want, and that's everything.
Exactly, and it's shocking to me. It truly is shocking to me that just as a matter of common sense, nonprofits would not see that they would be particularly vulnerable. It's the same thing with my students. I teach at Rowan, and we have to change our password, like, I don't know, it seems like once a month, but it's probably more like once every 6 months or something like that. But they make us change our password, and and the students are irritated by it. The students have to change their passwords constantly as well. And I explained to them one day, I'm like, you guys are absolutely one of the most vulnerable records to get because you have little to no credit history. That's like the perfect, person to get. And this is a similar thing. And like, this is a prime group that you would want to hit.
Oh, exactly. I mean, as far as the kids are concerned, you're exactly right from the standpoint of the children. If you use an example, little Johnny hits first grade and his identity is lifted through a cyber breach, it's going to be 13 years before little Johnny goes off to college. That's usually when little Johnny ends up finding out that his identity has been trashed, he can't get any student loans, he can't rent an apartment, and his life is already over before it begins.
So very true. That is so very true. And you don't know until you start using it, and so you have to be so. You just have to be so careful. So what are the options for nonprofits, or are there any that are like, are there any cost-effective options? I'm pretty sure there are not many, especially like small churches and things like that can afford the NCX top-notch type security protection.
Well, I mean, it's really funny that you say this, because for the last year, we've been working with a number of insurance companies. The insurance companies, and this is important for all the business owners that listen to you, the insurance companies are taking a bath in cyber breaches as it pertains to general business insurance, general liability insurance, errors and omissions insurance, as well as directors insurance, directors and board insurance policies. The cyber breach insurance, it really doesn't cover a whole lot, but we've been working with probably 6 of the world's largest carriers over the last year to develop a baseline assessment that will provide a maturity model that they can write a policy against at a discounted rate because your cybersecurity is better than the average. The potential of impact to them is less. So that is a place where I would start. And what I like about this is it's a very simple baseline assessment. It goes through, it adds some options in there, whether that's a phishing test or an external network scan or even a website test. But it gives you a clear roadmap of what you need to do to secure your environment step by step. And then the final piece of it is we actually stay with you for a year to answer any questions that you have, things that might come up. Every business has an attorney. Every business has a CPA. Every business needs to start thinking about a cybersecurity expert for that business. And that's not your IT guy. It's a different discipline. You need to find a cybersecurity guy.
It certainly isn't. And the cybersecurity threat continues to change and grow. I mean, over the past, I think, 2 years, the increase in cybercrime has gone up something like 250% just over the past 2 years. So
there was a new stat that I saw yesterday. By 2021, cybercrime will top $6 trillion a year.
Wow.
$6 trillion.
That's outrageous. That's crazy. And, you know, I actually know someone who's going to school for cybersecurity. And I don't know if it was you that I talked to or somebody else who was saying that, you know, going to school is fine, but it just tends to be behind the level of crimes that are perpetrated. Like by the time you get out, they're doing something completely different just because of the nature of technology.
Well, and I think it was a conversation that you and I had. Yeah, I've had, there was a gentleman that I spoke to that served our country, Marine, wanted to go back to school, and he was asking me about getting a degree in cybersecurity, and I said, I think it's a waste of time and money. From the standpoint that by the time you get out with that 4-year degree, you're going to be $200,000 in debt, and you're not going to be marketable because you have no real world experience. And what you've learned in school is going to be out of date. So go find somebody that will take you on as an apprentice, show that you have aptitude, you have skills from the military, you know, put them to work in that security practice.
True. Now, oh my goodness, the insurance companies actually do have the money to, I would think, like you just said, to do that. But your smaller nonprofits, here's what comes to mind, because I'm thinking about like, how do you protect the little guy? And I feel like there should be some kind of group or something, consortium, some way that they can pool their resources so that they can protect themselves, if that makes any sense, just from a cybersecurity perspective.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying. The tough part is with cybersecurity, one, we have a massive shortage of people within cybersecurity, right? It's a small group. A lot of us know each other very well. And so it's a very small group of people that do what I do. So the resources aren't there to do those kinds of things. The price point from an employment standpoint, and I think we talked about this once before, and that is, you know, a starting job within cybersecurity starts at about $150K a year, and depending upon where you are on the experience spectrum, it could go as high as $300,000, $400,000 a year for a job like that. So there's limited resources. The cost for talent in this space is expensive. Quite frankly, we're fast approaching the point to where small business is not going to be able to afford cybersecurity expertise, and that's why I'm excited about this My CSO Advisor program that we built, because it is a way to do it as cost effectively as humanly possible. It allows you to focus on the right things, spend your money in the right places, from an expertise standpoint and a technology standpoint. It's important to note that technology is not going to save you. It's not going to fix it. I've talked my way into water treatment facilities and into all kinds of offices, and technology isn't going to defeat any of that.
Oh, I remember you talking about that on one other show. I'm going to take a quick break, and I want you to talk about that, because that is a non, that's a non-technology way of getting to your technology. And that is insane. When you talk, and I can't remember if we were on the air or off the air when we talked about it. It might have been on the air, but I'd love for you to talk about that when we get back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. My guest today is cybersecurity expert, founder, and CEO of NCX Group Security, Mike Fitzpatrick, telling us exactly why it is that nonprofits should care about their cybersecurity. We'll be back in 1 minute. Welcome to this week's Money Talk Minute. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. This week, we talk how to shop smart. Here are 3 tips. First, evaluate purchases by cost per use. When deciding if the latest purchase is worth it, factor in how many times will you actually use it or actually wear it. Ask yourself, how much will this cost per hour of use? Is it really worth it? Second, spend money on experiences instead of things. Research shows that putting money toward that concert will make you much happier than purchasing that high-priced purse or tech gadget. Third, make sure you shop alone. It's so much fun to shop with friends, particularly for us ladies, but your best friend is the first one to tell you how cute that outfit is on you and that you should definitely buy it, even if you can't afford it. Save the socializing for later and shop by yourself. Those are your 3 tips for how to shop smart, and that's all for this week's Money Talk Minute. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. Remember to listen to Money Talk with Melanie Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific Time on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio.
My name is David Barnett, and I've been helping people buy and sell small and medium-sized businesses since 2008. So far this year, I've gone on 5 vacations. It's because I've got my own business. When you get tired of being managed by someone else and you decide that business ownership is right for you without the risk of starting your own unproven enterprise, then come over to businessbuyeradvantage.com. There are over 100 YouTube videos on buying and selling businesses that you can watch for free. That's businessbuyeradvantage.com.
Who likes paying taxes? Nobody. That's why Eva Rosenberg from taxmama.com wants you to pay less of them. Read Small Business Taxes Made Easy and learn how legally hiring your spouse and children can slash your taxes. Learn how to set up a business plan that minimizes taxes, the benefits of setting up an exit plan, how to avoid getting audited, and how to legally increase your deductible expenses with better record-keeping techniques. Don't let the IRS squeeze you out of every penny. Visit taxmama.com. Click on Ask a Tax Question to get free answers to your tax and business questions. That's taxmama.com.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette, and our guest today is Michael Fitzpatrick, cybersecurity expert and founder of NCX. Come on, Melanie. I should know this by heart by now. Of NCX Security Group. Hopefully I got that right. I apologize. Because I closed my notes. I closed my notes.
NCX Group.
Thank you. Thank you. I had my notes open, but I closed them because I wanted to and I always go and look for the title to make sure I get it right. But there was a comment in the chat I wanted to make sure that I grabbed, so I copied it and pasted it. Josh says, Josh, by the way, Josh is one of the members of Three Creators Symposium, which is a gang of really smart people, and wondering why they let me hang out with them. And they have a podcast, and they stream live on YouTube every Friday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, and occasionally let me hang out and comment with them. But Josh is part of that group. But he says, make them law enforcement, give them badges and coffee at diners and fedoras. Let them monologue internally, a little noir romance. You'll have tons of cybersecurity professionals. I just thought that was too funny not to. So I had to, the stream always moves, so I had to grab it and paste it real quick because I didn't want to forget. I just thought that was funny.
You could use the cleaning crew to wipe a server, kind of like Hillary was suggested, right?
Like with a towel. Exactly.
But okay, so social engineering. Social engineering, for me, and one of the things that I love about this is what you're able to do sometimes from a social engineering perspective, and talking your way into facilities. We've in the past have talked our way into the control room of a water treatment facility. Just by pretending to be an IT guy looking to fix something. Bob set me down, and evidently you've got a server that's not functioning. Is the closet, the room port, right over here? And you just keep going. One of my favorites, and this was back in the old days when we first started 15 years ago, you would typically go in, and when you're doing the physical security assessment, we'd show up sometime around lunch, usually about 12:30. The receptionist is gone, so you just walk through, go back, find one of the cubes, and inevitably there's a phone list. Somebody's got it packed up on the cube, right? And so there's a phone list, and it says IT. And in this particular time, HR didn't really let IT know that there was a new employee starting. You would just call IT and get your username and password for the systems. So in this particular day, called in, got a cube, called IT, and said, I've started. HR has told me to call you guys and get a username and password for the systems. And the IT guys goes, okay, great. Let's get you started. What's your first name? Well, first name's Jack. Okay, great. What's the last name? Last name is Lamangelo. Lamangelo? What do you mean, Lamangelo? Well, how's that spelled? You spell it Lemon. Jello.
Lemon Jello?
That's lemon jello. No, it's French. It's pronounced Lamangelo.
Wow, though.
Oh, okay. Here's your username and password. That's simple.
And it sounds like, some silly like espionage stuff from TV or a movie. But people actually do this.
Well, I mean, people love to be helpful, and that's the root. That's why phishing emails are so successful. That increased last year by 600%. The effectiveness of phishing emails.
And now, explain to the audience what a phishing email is, and this is phishing, not phishing like go fishing. Explain to the audience what that is for those who may not be aware.
Okay, so we've all received these emails that look like they've come from the bank. The ones I inevitably get are the ones that are from any other bank but my own, asking you for your social security number. You need to update this. One, your banks aren't going to do that. They're not going to send you anything like that. The IRS isn't going to send you anything like that either. The Nigerian email scams, those are phishing emails. They're trying to get you to bite on something. The most popular one right now, quite frankly, is Netflix. That your Netflix account needs to be updated. The credit card needs to be updated.
I heard that the other day on the news. Yeah, I heard that. And it's really the way they're doing it. I mean, why wouldn't you think Netflix is doing that? I mean, what Well, you wouldn't give that I would think you wouldn't give that a second thought. And, you know, Netflix is really important. It just is.
Well, think about the fact that we're now pretty much all on mobile devices, right? So when you see something come through in your email on your mobile device, it really doesn't have the header that it does, the information that it does, like you would see on a desktop. So you just kind of see the logo that says Netflix, and you press the button and you go. You know, we did a phishing test a while back when we announced this new phishing service that we have. And we fish companies like a hacker would fish companies. So it's not generic. And so we go after them the way the hacker would. In this particular case, this is a company that we had done business with for 9 years. I know what their security program is. I know how they train. I know what they do. And I wasn't expecting the results that we got. The results were really interesting. They have 500 employees, so we broke it into 2 emails. One group of 250 received an email that looks like it came from their chief information officer. Name, company logo. We spoofed the domain to make it look like it was internal. The email was very simple. It said, "Hey, Bob, I wanted to let you know that we were hacked last night. Use this link to reset your username and password, please. Thanks, Don." The second email went out to the other 250, and it was, "Hey, Bob, I want to let you know we're trying a new mobile app. Would you download it and let me know your thoughts? Thanks, Don." Very benign emails, right?
Right.
So within 12 hours' time, the first email asking for them to reset their username and password, 90 people opened it. 80 people went to reset their username and password. Whole new credentials.
Oh my gosh.
The second email, 85 opened it, and 65 attempted to download something, and some of them repeatedly because the download wasn't working. So within 12 hours' time, I had my choice in how I'm taking that company apart.
And
I had either ownership of computer systems or usernames and passwords.
Right. And the problem is it only takes one, depending on what the hacker is trying to do.
Correct.
It only takes one, particularly with phishing. I had a question in the chat. Is the infrastructure wrong? Our current HTTPS system could be improved to hide both sender and recipient behind ciphers, drastically reducing invasions in the systems. What do you think about that, Mike?
Well, I think that there's always improvements that can be made, but there's always a cost to that kind of thing too, at some point to some business or some entity that would have to be updated, because with improvement comes increased cost. I mean, that goes with the equation. So I tend to fall on the side of things that technology is not the answer. You have to deal with behavior. I mean, 70% of all breaches now come from within. You have to work on the behavioral aspects of it. You have to develop a security program in place. You have to deal, I talked to my son about this, you have to deal with the whole pizza, not just a slice of the pizza. Compliance is something I think drives a false sense of security. Compliance doesn't make anything secure. Compliance just makes you compliant. Congratulations. Well, you're a teacher. It's a gold star. Congratulations. You completed the busy work.
Right. I'm laughing. I'm laughing because the person who posed the question, Josh again, said, "Good point. Hard to fix. Stupid." That's what made me giggle. It is true.
Exactly.
It's true.
Exactly. Duct tape won't even work with that.
No.
So you have to develop a program. You have to work with what is most important to secure. Going back to what we talked about initially, nonprofits. First and foremost is securing that donor list. Who has access to it? How you ship that off to your third-party companies. Are you actually doing the basics of reading their terms and conditions and what they're going to be liable for? Because if you're thinking that they're going to be liable for your data and a security breach on their premises, they're not.
And you know everybody's
you're
reading
still liable.
everyone's reading their terms and conditions very thoroughly before they click agree. I know I am, most definitely.
Absolutely. Everybody clicks through those things as fast as possible. I think Apple's terms and conditions are up to about a 14 or 15-day read now.
You're probably the only guy that emails them back and like, yeah, I have a problem with item 3A, and also.
How do I redline this? I need a redline copy, please. I need to redline this.
Exactly. The poor people at the Apple Store. I don't envy them when you walk in. I don't.
My wife just rolls her eyes and shakes her head. No, I mean, you have to develop a program. You have to do the basic blocking and tackling to make your environment secure, to make sure your employees know that security is important to you, to make sure that the companies that you do business with, you can actually share with them what your security is, not what compliance measures you pass, but what your security is.
Very true. Now we're approaching the close. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say
that's so important today. And businesses are missing opportunities to grow revenue because they're not spending any money on cybersecurity.
And there it is. That was probably the line of the show. You're missing business opportunities to grow by not addressing this issue. So if someone wanted to get an assessment or avail themselves of your services over at the fantastic NCX Group Security, how would they do that?
The easiest way to get in touch with us is through the website, ncxgroup.com. If you'd like to track what is actually going on, I think we publish somewhere between 10 and 12 articles a day on Twitter with things that we think are interesting in this space. We actually have a lot of clients that are using that to teach their employees, creating a security awareness program within their businesses. So that's at NCX Group on Twitter, at NCX Group on Facebook. One point to growing revenues, we have one client that we worked with because of the security measures that we worked with them on and developed over 6 years period of time. They were awarded a $20 billion contract for service fees for servicing mortgages. $20 billion over the term of the contract. $2 billion a year.
Whoa, that's amazing. That is amazing. And don't you have a podcast too that is actually very, very good? It's fantastic.
Thanks. I do have a podcast. You can catch it on Anchor. Go to anchor.com, and it's called Bite Size Security. And what I try to do is like a 5-minute talk on something that is a consumable, something small, just a bite.
It's very good. You should definitely check it out at anchor.com. NCX Group. It's excellent, high quality. I don't think Mike knows how to do anything other than high quality. Bless you. Thank you so much for being on the show, and we look forward to you coming back next month.
I do too. Thanks, Melanie.
Thanks so much. Have a great night. I want to thank everybody who's in the Facebook chat. Thank you for being so interactive and asking questions. You guys are fantastic. I want to thank everybody out there at SHR Media and High Place Pundit Talk Radio Land. Remember, all of this is very important because after all, it is your money. Have a great night.